Oh, listen, all of y'all. Okay, we got the closes. We done got the closes. We've done had the intro. We have done had the hot seats. Bring the hot dogs and the kids. We have got it all. Man, I tell you what, something is wrong with letters. They're getting harder to read. I don't know what it is. I just can't. I gotta get them, I guess. What am I looking for, man? That's not true. Oh, good Lord. Okay, let me look at my notes here. See where we're at in the agenda. Man, I'm at where we're supposed to be at 2:30. All right. Let me see here what we're going to do. Angles and switches and expansion. All right, that is heavy, heavy. Okay, we're going to do big idea and positioning then. Because this is too much to do at the end of the day. I need y'all fresh and so clean. Man, we really need a time machine here. Okay, so let me see here. Got that. Got this. Okay, I need y'all to resist the urge to get wild and loose tonight. I know it's me, it's crazy, but if it's possible, God forbid, wait till tomorrow night to get super wild and loose. Okay, so we went cerebral. We're gonna get a little more tactical, but this is always it's always dangerous to do this one. I'm gonna do it anyway. Okay, do it. And some of you HLF fellas and ladies will remember this. Okay, so I want to talk about uncovering the big idea. This is a great one to end the day on right here because this is so freaking hard to do, right? So disclaimer, this is real hard to do. You ain't got to do it. This is like saying go out and write a hit song. It's hard, but when you have this, man, you've got lightning in a bottle. So I'm going to kind of show you how to engineer it, and don't pressure yourself to like come up with the magic today. Some of y'all might, like sometimes it happens, like boom, got it. Oftentimes it doesn't, okay? So what we're doing is we're going to build something that supports campaigns and brands as a whole, all right? So the big idea within the context of our conversation up in here is what grabs your market's attention and presents your promise in a new and possibly even unusual way. The reason this is important to at least do a mediocre job of is because all markets are now hyper aware. So everybody's heard everything, all right? Nothing's really new. So it's a lot harder now to get attention and get a sale because you can go to YouTube and find out how to do anything. Like really, I mean, you can find out whatever it is. So this is what's going to set your business and you apart. So today's world, everybody's already heard every single promise under the sun. Okay, I mean, you pick an industry and they've just about heard every imaginable claim. So we've got a very jaded and very immune populace to try to sell to. So what most marketers or businesses try to do, if they even try, and thankfully many don't try to do anything, but when they try to make the promises bigger, or they try to be louder, etc., a greater volume, excuse me, a greater volume. I sound like the guys at the car lot. Shit, Frank, I don't know, man. They all sound like that at the car lot. It's amazing. Thank you for calling Smith & Smith. Well, how much you want for it? Okay, so let's hope everybody keeps doing that, by the way. So it would be in our best interest if nobody else in the world does this, and they won't because it's hard. So that's good. All right, so coming up with the big idea is difficult. It takes time, and it's something you don't want to rush. This is one of those things that when you get it, it's like writing Whipping Post or I don't even know contemporary songs, a hit contemporary song. You know, you got the thing. It's like you have made Star Wars. Oh my gosh. You know, you don't rush that. I mean, the idea might come quickly, but don't overtrain your head here. It'll mess it up. Okay. Losing the old voice, man. I don't talk much. Like, it's a general rule. I spend 12 hours a day by myself in silence. So it's a little bit out of my normal behavior. So one of the best ways to create this big idea, and I think another way to describe the big idea is to encapsulate your thing, whatever it is you're selling, the primary benefit of what you're selling, in a new and unique way. So like a phrase or concept that crystallizes what it is you got in a way that's refreshing and different from what everyone else has heard. Okay? Does that make a little more sense? Yes, Frank, is brilliant. Thank you so much. Stop. No, really, please, hold your applause. Okay, so here's what we do. We start and we say, what's the promise? All right? What does my thing do? What's the big single benefit? All right? Then you ask, how do I fulfill the... Want y'all say something? You're hallucinating, not me. Totally thought I heard someone ask a question. Okay, that's 1988 to 2010 for you right there. All right, that's what you get. Nancy Reagan was right. So what am I promising, and how do I fulfill that promise in a way that's unique and different from what everyone else is saying? This is not a USP, by the way. This transcends the USP, okay? USP stands for unique selling proposition, I think. All right. So when we start trying to figure this out, you need to start asking questions like, what is my market's biggest desire? Okay. What unique way can I address? Snozberries taste like snozberries is what that thing is. What unique way can I address that desire that will get their attention? All right. So let me give you an example. All right. So, gosh, about a year ago, man, time flies. About a year ago, I had an implementation boot camp where we teach this and we really get kind of heavy in doing it. And I had a client there, and her promise, or their desire rather, her market's desire was to get the baby to sleep. So probably I assume most of us have had children here. Man, that first go around, I'm on number 4 now. So my daughter can howl, I'll hold her, I don't care, it doesn't bother me at all. Man, the first time though, I remember being online thinking, I will FedEx a check for whatever somebody wants if they will just get Nora to stop howling. Because she was just like a siren, just, you know, it freaked me out. I mean, that's the natural response to a child crying. You think something's wrong. So I can totally get it. Desire, I want my baby to go to sleep. The promise is, I'll teach you to get your baby to go to sleep. So that's the first time in the history of the world anyone's ever made that promise to a marketplace, so they're going to be rich beyond their dreams, right? No, of course not. Every market is hyper aware. The promise has been made 1,000,000 times, kid never goes to sleep. Use this binky. Binky makes kid madder. Play the rain thing wakes the kid up. Do the thing that vibrates the kid grows up to be a serial killer. You know, I mean, none of the stuff works and you're not getting any sleep. That's what happened to Jeffrey Dahmer. They had you know that little thing that makes mimics the, you don't know, newer parents? Yeah. Did it work for you? Didn't work for us. Yeah. Katya was like, how'd you like me to put that in your bed? I'm going to kill you, old man. I'm like, okay, it's cool. It's cool. It's my youngest daughter. She's tough, man. All right, so then you have to say, all right, so how do I fulfill this problem? What's this promise? What's the delivery method? Okay? So for her, this client, she was like, look, dude, you guys who are buying the vibrating bed thing and the little light that puts the stars on the thing and all that stuff, you don't need to do that stuff because kids will tell you, they have cues. It's actually really logical. I think she's onto something. They have cues that will let you know when they want to go to bed, and it's our job to put them to bed at the right time. And her premise, hang on. So here was her big idea, all right? Her big idea that we came up with was born to sleep. So basically what she was saying is, the kids always want to sleep. People don't just inherently become insomniacs and crazy until they're older and they watch a bunch of television and they worry about things, right? Kids are born to go to sleep. So the premise is what supports this big idea, right? So we say, we're going to try to think of, and I know this is cerebral and weird, but this is important. So we're going to try to come up with a new and unique way to encapsulate the primary benefit of what you got by examining someone's biggest desire, the promise, and the way that you're going to fulfill on that promise that is unique. We encapsulate that with the big idea, which is in this case is born to sleep, okay? So the big idea, I want you to think about it as kind of a phrase that opens the mental doorway so you can now begin the conversation. So the premise is a statement or concept that supports this big idea. Is that making sense? All right. So if we got a parent and the parent hadn't slept in 10 years, and you're like, dude, your kid's born to sleep, you're doing it wrong. Parent's like, what? That's all we want, right there, just to get that what? And now we can say, yeah, so here's her premise. And this is what she told me. She's like, listen, bush babies don't stay up all night. Like in the Australian outback, they ain't putting binkies and all that crap. They go to bed, right? Parents are keeping the babies up by accident, okay? Because we're playing them all this music. Baby, you don't know what music is. Man, they've been in this womb that sounds like this. And now they're do. I mean, of course they're like, what the hell's that? They don't know what it is. They're babies. They've been here like a week. They don't understand. No, what do you mean you don't like Beethoven? I don't know who's Beethoven, man. You freak me out. You're huge, okay? Here's how. So here's what we're doing. If we look at this from a conversational standpoint, and this is like the conversation you convey in the marketing, potentially even in person. Hey, Jim, you're looking a little tired. Yeah, baby's up all night. Dude, baby's born to sleep. Why is your baby up all night? Your baby's supposed to sleep. All babies go to sleep. What's wrong with your baby? Wait, what are you talking about? Yeah, bush babies don't stay up all night. Babies in the Amazon don't stay up all night. You're probably keeping your baby up by accident. You know what? Here's how. This whole thing opens the door to us to now be able to start delivering the value in advance, which supports the closes and all of that kind of stuff. So remember, we started today, or the last chunk of today, with closing. Here's how you close. Remember I said one of the ways to make it easier is to deliver a lot of value in advance. One of the ways to pave the way to that is with a big idea supported by a premise. So this isn't a campaign. This isn't a technique. This is This is the thing that opens the door, right? So this is the difference between the opponent being like this and the opponent being like this. All this does is just gives that little shove to get the guy off balance. Then you can control mentally their movement with the delivery of value. Does that make sense? Yeah, to a degree, suspending disbelief, but what we're really wanting to do is educate them further, but it just gets them enough to open the door. So this is the doorknob, and this is this. That's all. That's all we're doing. Now the door's open. Now you walk right in, right? But we ain't walking in if it's locked. Okay, so here's the thing. Born to sleep is a big idea. We establish the premise. Here's how, as we establish positioning through education. And then we make the promise, right? Which is, I will teach you how to get your baby to sleep. So usually most marketers lead with the promise, right? So what we're doing, let me do it again. We have the idea, born to sleep, yep. Babies are supposed to sleep. Bush babies don't stay up all night. We're messing them up. What are you talking about? Oh, let me educate you. We educate them. Now we're establishing ourselves as authority, right? Now we are able to make the promise and thus close. I'll teach you how to get your baby to sleep. If we lead with, I will teach you how to get your baby to sleep, we're losing 90% of them because they've heard it a million times. Making sense? Let me do nerd. Okay. Another client helps businesses, specifically dental practices, get good reviews online so they can get more clients. So his promise is, I'll teach you to consistently get good reviews from your customer. Of course, it's the first time in the world a dentist has ever heard something like that, so they're immediately going to be receptive to the promise, right? No. I mean, like every 15 minutes, someone's calling them about that stuff. Hey, you need SEO, you need reputation management, you need to get good reviews. I mean, they've heard it all day, every day. So we can't lead with the promise. Your market's probably the same. So I'm asking the guy, I'm like, well, dude, how do you do this? Because they've heard this before. What's making you different, right? So you kind of have to cross-examine yourself. Well, what's so great about you? He goes, well, I train their staff to ask properly, and we all know that even if you ask them for the review and they love you as a doctor, they ain't going to go and leave a good review. So now I then deploy an automated system that follows up with them to ensure that the customer leaves a positive review. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's kind of different. That's a little bit different than what everybody else is doing. So what we came up with was a concept called predictable evangelism. So we have elevated positive reviews to something that they really wanted, which was predictability, number one, and not just good reviews, but evangelism. So if I'm talking to a dentist, he's like, yeah, man, Business is pretty good, but Dr. Jones over here is on the first page of Google with 7 million positive Yelp reviews, and I have like 3, and this is really bugging me. Oh, dude, you need positive evangelism. What's that? That's all that is. That's all that thing is. It's a unique way to encapsulate and describe that this dude's got this method to train staff and predictably and systematically cause positive reviews to be left through automated follow-up. So, dentist, now in our imaginary conversation, what's positive or what's predictable evangelism? Oh, well, here's the thing. Customers can be trained to leave positive reviews if you have a systematic way of getting them to do it. Here's how you do that. That's it. What have we done? We've opened the door to the middle circle, which is to educate them, which establishes authority and positioning, and then softens them up for our promise. So, predictable evangelism is the big idea. The premise is, oh, dude, you can totally, if the customer, assuming you're not ripping their teeth out with pliers and punching them in the face, customers can easily be trained and followed up with to get good reviews. You're having your lady call them right now and remind them, oh yeah, that never works. Yeah, of course not. Here, let me show you what's working. Boom. Education. Now we're establishing positioning, authority positioning through education. We're helping them. We're delivering results in advance. Then after the education, now you make the promise. Use my system. I'll train your staff. We'll deploy the automation. You're going to love it. It's going to be great. If we lead with this, we ain't going to get no money. We'll get a little bit of money. We ain't going to get as much money as we could because everybody's leading with this. So we're me too, right? Okay. Let me get narrative. Here's a desire to lose weight fast. Now y'all are going to know this one, all right? The customer's desire is to lose weight fast. I would prefer to lose it slowly. I'm on like a 45-year plan, I think. Yeah. The promise, buy P90X and you'll get shredded. Oh, well, okay, well, here's the money. Because no one in the history of consumerism has ever had a pitch that says, buy my product and you will lose weight. So this is going to be an easy sell. No problem. These guys went from 100 million, which is impressive, to $1 billion annually in like 3 or 4 years by using this, by the way. I didn't show them this. I'm just dissecting. I had nothing to do with it, unfortunately. I'd love to take credit for that. So now we say, okay, heard that 1 million times. How are you going to fulfill that promise, Beachbody? They say, well, dude, here's the thing. You constantly change your workouts. You do intense cardio and weights and all that kind of stuff. You're going to get faster results because your body's not used to the motion. And it's going to put your body under greater stress. That's going to burn calories and fat a whole lot faster. What's their big idea? Muscle confusion. Muscle confusion. I mean, how can you, if you're interested in losing weight and someone says, oh, dude, you need muscle confusion. You're like, what? What's muscle confusion? Boom, that's all it is. What did we just do? Turn the knob. That's all we have to do. Because now we can establish the premise. Oh, yeah, dude, traditional, of course you're not losing. Well, you doing the same? Oh, yeah, traditional workouts have limited results because your body gets used to it, right? Of course you're not, of course you plateaued. Here's the thing. You got to constantly shock your system for maximum impact. Here's how you do it. Go watch a P90X infomercial. That's the format that they're doing. Tired of blah, 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 blah. Well, it's because of blah, 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 blah. With P90X, we use muscle confusion, and here's how it works. Establish education through and position, right? So, again, muscle confusion, establish premise, educate, here's how it works, therefore establishing positioning, building trust, delivering value in advance, always a good idea. Don't forget to do that. Then deliver the promise. These workouts will get you ripped, right? I stared at those DVDs 1 million times. That's a scam. So didn't do anything for me. I'm going to start a blog. I mean, I stared at them like, I've walked past those DVDs 100 times easily. Here's Nearden. Customer's biggest desire is automated marketing and sales. All right, this is for our company when we do implementation boot camp. We built that up. Right? Biggest desire, I want to automate my marketing and sales. Oh, well, our promise is, hey, use our service and we'll help you increase sales through automation. Easiest sale in the world because no one's ever heard that, ever. No one in marketing has ever heard this concept of automation before, and historically, all automation attempts have been 100% successful with zero customer frustration, so they practically threw money at us, said nobody ever, right? So, what's different? Well, our delivery method is our system has multiple contingency plans for people who don't respond, and we create specialized messages and sequences for a specific behavior, right? So it took me 18 months to come up with the big idea, which is behavioral dynamic response, which is an okay big idea. It's not as good as lead compounding, which is a better way to encapsulate what all of this kind of stuff is. 18 months. But behavioral dynamic response works well, really, really well. So we built that business. Here's the premise. Most people don't do what you want them to do, okay? You have to have contingency plans in place to re-engage prospects. Here's how. That is your magic words. Here's how, right? So my campaign, which sold this, actually, if you go to frankkern.com, it's still there. Opt in for the future of internet marketing and see the video. It's 55 minutes of me doing this at a whiteboard. Here's how. Everything after here's how up to close is pure value add. But behavioral dynamic response, most people don't do what you want them to do. You have to have contingency plans in place. Here's how. Open the door. The positioning through education, me at the whiteboard, is me walking in the door. Here's the close. I wouldn't be able to do it if I hadn't opened the knob, pushed the dough, all right? So here, this is just a little bit redundant now. Let me give you a narrative example. That's actually for you. So the question I want you to answer, and just do it in your, and I wouldn't try to do it right now, but if you would write this down, you got these 3 questions. What's their desire? What's your promise? How do you fulfill it? All right? And then you kind of wait so you can write it. How many of you guys sell marketing stuff to businesses? If you do this for them, walk them through this process, they'll probably give you money. Because they're like, I've never thought of it that way. That's amazing. And they don't think of it that way, which is great. And if you help them get a good big idea, even a mediocre big idea, even an angle, they're already miles ahead of everybody else. All right, so we have these 3 questions. And then, what is the big idea? Easier said than, well, what are the lyrics to the hit song, sir? Easier said than done, I understand. What's the premise that supports it? And that's it. You get these 5 things, and you can build an entire brand around that. We want to. Whole brand. All right? So now I'm going to do positioning. Okay? So if we look at this from a linear thing, big idea is thing that opens the door. Right? Positioning is the middle. Then we have the promise. Actually, I have a good graphic for you. You guys with me? I'm doing cerebral stuff to you at the end of the day. Okay. So what we're doing now is we're supporting the close. So I showed you the close first. This is everything you do before. If you do all this stuff before it, the close gets even more effective, right? So with positioning, this is basically how your market sees you. And ideally, you want them to like you and really think you're great before you ever ask them for money. It just makes life a lot easier. So one of the things that we want to do is we want to reverse engineer how their brain works and then match our behavior to their values, if it is in fact true. So the job of positioning is, number 1, to establish authority. Okay. Number 2, to build trust. Number 3, to support the big idea and the premise, right? We can't just go, muscle confusion, give me money. We got to explain that. We have to educate, right? We probably can now because they've ingrained it so much in our culture through what? Advertising. Why? Because advertising is the only thing. It is the alpha and the omega. Positioning also reduces our resistance to hearing the promise, all right? Nobody has to work hard to sell a Rolls Royce. Rolls Royce salesmen, luckiest salespeople in the world. You want the car or not? The end. There's no one's at the Rolls Royce dealership going, what's it going to take to earn your business? Hang on, I just want you to meet my manager. Hang on, Jimmy, we got one. Get him. This doesn't happen. What were you thinking about? What else were you comparing the car to? Oh, you were thinking about a Toyota? Okay, well, let's it doesn't happen. Why? I can tell you right now, it's a pretty good car. It ain't the greatest car in the world. My Ford F-150 is a better car. I got both. I got F-150. I got the Wraith. F-150 is a better car. Sorry, guys. A better car. 60-something grand versus 350. Why? It's the positioning. It is the intrinsic value, okay? If you build this stuff up, I mean, it's a great car, don't get me wrong, but I'm telling you, it ain't 5 times better than the F-150. So that's what we want to, that's what we do. Positioning is built on external or internal versus external decisions. So an external decision is when I convince you of something, right? So when we make, well, I don't have to be, that's redundant. So if I convince you of something, that's an external decision. Something has caused you to agree, okay? An internal decision is when you come to the conclusion on your own. Positioning's job is to manufacture internal decisions. So we want them to decide internally without you convincing that they like your stuff, that you are of authority, that you are someone to be trusted without you having to convince them. If they do that in advance of you asking them for money, they do things like fly all the way over here, not having any idea what it is you're going to talk about, right? That's why you're here, because of this kind of stuff, okay? So you wouldn't be here if I had bad positioning and didn't do a good job and didn't establish value and credibility beforehand. I'd have to make huge, loud promises and the room would be a quarter full, okay? So internal decisions are infinitely more powerful than external decisions. Why? Anyone want to guess? It's yours, yeah. If I decide, I have done this so many times, never, when I'm in an argument with my wife, when I know I'm wrong. But I ain't gonna, no, I'm telling you, you don't change it that way. I know. Clearly it doesn't work, No, I made this decision. We're stupid people, right? We're all crazy. The brain is so predictable. So if we make a decision, we will defend that dang decision forever because it's ours. But if someone convinces us of something, it's real easy to convince us of something else. So an external decision is weaker, all right? Well, you should really do that. You should really like this. Okay, I really like this. The next guy who's louder and more persuasive is going to get him over here. So we want them to decide on their own. So our job is to figure out how to cause your prospect to make an internal decision about you, okay? So we do it through positioning. So positioning is built basically in 3 pillars. You got surface positioning, you have psychographic demographic positioning, and then you have demonstration, all right? So, okay then. Oh, that's right. We're magnetically drawn to people like us, which is, I guess, kind of obvious, right? But here's why you want to do it. Well, actually, just let me show you. So the middle one, psychographic positioning, is where we're going to start because I think it's the most powerful one, all right? The first step in psychographic positioning is basically matching their values to yours, matching your values to them, showing and demonstrating that to them, this person is just like me. We just like to be with people like us. It's the way it is. So we might as well use that for your own personal gain. So we want to reverse engineer the value systems of your prospects and then identify how you can match those value systems in your messaging. The third step is to use surface positioning and demonstration to illustrate that match. So I'll explain that in a minute. But first, let's reverse engineer the value systems. All right? I'm sorry about that. All right, only do this with the following ideal prospects in mind. So you don't want to do it with just everybody in your market. What I want you to do right now, I'm going to lead you through this exercise, is imagine who your perfect customer is, who you really want, right? And we're going to chart out the values psychographically of that person. Then we're going to take your values out and we're just going to circle the ones that match. And then we're going to use techniques to highlight that to your prospect so it will cause him or her to say, I like this person, they're like me. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so your prospect's value system is divided really into 4 categories. Their desires, their fears, what they stand for, and what they stand against. Okay, so let's talk about, well, I keep jumping ahead of myself. I'm very excitable, all right? So if we look at my ideal prospect for our professional services company, our implementation bootcamp division, right? Our ideal person, not the average person, the person who we want, number 1, they're going to desire consistent sales. Everybody does. That's pretty easy. Number 2, they want to build goodwill. That is different from everybody else in the marketplace. A lot of people in the marketplace don't care. Buy or die, right? Our ideal person, goodwill is very important to them. Do you know why I want that person? Because all of our campaigns build goodwill. They take a little longer, but the sales are better and they stick longer. If someone who is a buy or die person buys my stuff, they're not going to like it. Like, oh, it takes too long. I didn't get the money overnight. This sucks. So I got to have someone who really cares about building goodwill, else they won't be happy. They have to be wanting to turn advertising into profit, right? If I go to someone who just wants to do joint ventures and launches, they're going to hate what we give them. I mean, like, dude, what are you telling me about running ads for? This is stupid. Just tell me what button do I make my buy here button when I get all the free traffic instead. They're not going to like it. So they have to have that desire. Their fears are going to be tech overwhelm. I want someone who is very concerned about tech overwhelm because we solve the problem. If they're like, I'm a tech genius, I can handle this with my eyes closed, they're a terrible prospect for us because they ain't going to buy anything because they can do it with their eyes closed, right? I want them to fear loss of goodwill. If they don't care about goodwill, again, they're not going to like the fact that our campaigns are deliberately longer and more methodical to establish that relationship. Their big fear is a loss of a pillar. A pillar, in this case, is going to be a source of traffic and income. What if Facebook turns me off? What if I get Google slapped? I want them to be worried about that because our stuff solves that. If you have all the dynamic stuff that we build, you've got a real long time and a real good way to compound the value of your leads and be able to spend more on other media without it really hurting you. Whereas if you don't have it, your leads are going to be worth less. So I want them to be concerned about that. It helps me. I want them to be for advertising. This is a big deal because not a lot of people are for advertising. I mean, there is entire publications built to demonize the advertising industry. Adbusters being one of them. One of my favorite magazines ever. Those evil advertisers who place ads in our magazine are terrible people. I always thought it was funny. Okay, well, kind of love the way you're keeping a straight face there, fellas. I'm going to go get you a soy latte and have a good day. So they have to be for value-based marketing, right? Because that's what we build. If they're not for that, they're not going to like our stuff, right? And I'm for that too. They got to be for hard work because our stuff is hard. We can help you implement and build the system, but it's not a pill. You know, like, boom, riches. Like, you got to be understanding that it's still going to be a pain in the butt and be okay with it. They have to be for the entrepreneurial spirit, which is kind of obvious, all right? They have to be against hype. If they're big, hypey people, they're not going to like what we give them. We don't do it. We're not going to deploy it. So they're not going to like us. They have to be against typical internet marketing because our stuff doesn't follow the behavioral doctrine of typical internet marketing. And by that, I mean the hypey, just slash and burn, you know, JV of the second or whatever it is stuff. They got to be more longer-term thinkers, okay? They cannot want something for nothing, or they will not be happy with what they buy from us because they must put fuel into the machine. So if they want something for nothing, they're going to think that we're the worst people in the world. Because they were like, we built this machine, and I did nothing with it, and it didn't work, you're a scammer. Well, yes, we are. We killed you, sorry. Okay? And they have to be against short-term thinking. Again, behavioral dynamic response stuff, it compounds the value of a lead over time. Does Warren Buffett want a bunch of investors who are like, I gave you $1 million, I put it in my portfolio last week, and I haven't got my 20% yet? No. He wants the long-term person. Our system's the same thing. Okay? So let's talk about these two right here. The desires and fears are what we craft our messages for them, okay? So it helps you craft your offer, helps you create your copy, it helps you engineer your demonstrations of power is what I like to call them. It helps you create your pre-framing material, all right? The other ones, I'll give you examples on my blog with 2 posts on it that have been updated biannually. I have like a gigantic article / sales piece called How to Turn Advertising into Profit because that's what they want. That is why I built it. My future of the internet is how I turn advertising into profit through goodwill. Right? So if you go opt in on you're already on my list, so you know what's going to happen. But if you go to frankkern.com, you can watch the whole video. It's really, really good, right? So they're for and against. This is how we create something called surface positioning. So surface positioning is how they perceive you the instant that they see you. That matters. It shouldn't matter, but we're a shallow group, we humans. We make snap judgment based on the most trivial and stupid things. So if you know what your prospects are going to make snap judgments on, you can deliberately create surface positioning that are going to make them more open to hearing the messages presented in your other levels of positioning. Make sense? But if we don't know everything about them, we can never engineer the positioning, okay? So that's where we get their for and against. Okay, so the process to get all of this stuff is something I call value mapping, all right? So in value mapping, you find your value system, because you can't fake this stuff. I mean, I guess you could, but you'd be miserable. You'd have to be pretending to be someone you're not your entire life. That would suck. So find your value system, line it up. So we got our value system here. We put it next to their value system, and then we find where we have matches, and then we highlight those matches. All right, we emphasize the matches in our marketing and everything we do. Making sense so far? Okay. So first thing you want to do is to find out your value system, okay, your four. So for me, especially as it relates to this customer, this ideal customer that we want, but in general, I'm strongly for advertising, right? I mean, I really think advertising is the alpha and the omega. Man, my voice is totally getting shot today. It blows. So hugely for it, love it, greatest thing in the world. Good advertising. Stupid advertising is annoying. It's a waste of consumer money. It's a waste of business money. But good advertising. Really big deal, goodwill. Bill Bernbach has, I'll get the book tonight and hopefully remember the quote. But it says something like, we in advertising have the ability to influence the entire world. We should add value to the world instead of hurting them. So it's a really cool quote, I'll get it. But I'm really for that. I think it's a good idea. Like if everyone who had the ability that we do helped people while selling them, I think we would really make the world a better place. I mean, how could you not, right? If we every single promotion delivered value and helped our prospects get closer to what they wanted instead of just bashing them over the head, how could it possibly not make the world a better place? And it works better anyway. So I'm staunchly for that personally. Very much for hard work. It irritates me when people don't want to work hard. I'm still mad at the guy who I put my heart into it. I mean, I stared at that screen several minutes a day. Okay, get the hell out of here. Take your money. Here's some extra money. Go buy yourself a brain, all right? Huge champion of the entrepreneurial spirit. I am personally offended by socialistic ideals. It makes me angry, all right? Big deal. So these are like things that are directly related to my customer and directly related to what I'm selling. But then you have what I call wild cards. So personally, I am Christian. I am borderline super Christian. I'm not obnoxious, legalistic Christian. But so I'm not like, I don't care if you do, if you drink, if you smoke reefer, or whatever. I just know that God loves us.